Suicide in the military. This is a tough subject, but one that will not go away because we ignore it or throw a bunch of money at it. If you're ready to listen to some real talk with truths most likely never before heard that may upset some in the DoD and government, keep listening. I'm Jason Miller, Master Sergeant retired, and the host of Miller's Military Moments. I've experienced suicidal ideations while on active duty, recovered, lost 4 teammates to suicide while several others were close. I'm intimately familiar with this topic, but am not any type of medical doctor. What I say is not to be intended to be medical advice or to override the directions of a doctor, therapist, or anyone else licensed that is responsible for your care. Suicide in the military is on the rise. Again. We've been discussing this issue for years, so it being on the rise is even more concerning to me. When I say discussing it, though, I don't really mean mainstream discussions. I'm referring to ancillary, whimsical discussions that generate a little bit of money to research the problem, and then we move on. These American heroes are taking their own lives for many different reasons, and I want to point out that every case should be investigated independently of another unless there are some very clear and obvious related issues. When you start lumping groups of people that are at different locations, doing different jobs at different times, and trying to figuring out root causes, you're not going to get the right picture. So questions that people ask all the time. Why? Why don't they seek help? Why didn't we see the signs? How can we know? How can we help them? Don't they know how important they are? How loved they are? And how valued they are? Are they just weak? Are they scared? I'm going to answer these questions and more today. I'm going to share with you what I and several others think some of the root causes are and some potentially real prevention techniques. I promise you this is going to take a turn you're not expecting and haven't heard from anyone in the DoD or government. It's not that they do not know these things. They're pretty smart people. Well, I may give them a little too much credit on the smart part, but some of the causes and prevention techniques that I believe in could end up creating real culture changes in how we train, lead, and develop people. Something many don't want to do and use a lack of money as a reason quite often to not do this. Hear that again. Many senior leaders say the lack of money from a $750 billion annual DoD budget is a reason why we can't train, lead, and develop people the right way. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. Some notable stats for you. And remember, stats are people. These numbers are mothers, daughters, wives, husbands, sons, fathers, brothers, sisters, and teammates. 2020 numbers, 580 suicides in the current military. These numbers do not consider veterans. Veteran suicide causes and prevention will be another episode, as I believe they're a bit different. So on the active duty side, 384. The Reserve, 77. National Guard, 119. To me, and to most, that is a lot, and even one is too many. I don't want to get into how the stats compare to the regular, to the people in our country. There's different ways to look at statistics, and you can almost always use statistics to show your story and your biased agenda. So I don't want to get into comparing those stats. I want to just focus on those numbers and what they are. They are human beings. They are American heroes that are taking their lives. A month ago, about mid-September, 3 soldiers took their own lives at Fort Drum within a 72-hour period. PFC Tyler Thomas was 21 years old. Specialist Sika, 26. Staff Sergeant Angel Green, 24 years old. Some soldiers that I spoke to believe there was a concerted effort to keep this from the media, as it took a few weeks to even get out to the public. Soldiers and their families feel like the Army and DOD do their damnedest to cover these up so as to not bring any attention to things that are wrong in the military. Do I have proof of that? No. Do I suspect it? Yes. Another thing I can tell you is that anytime you hear about a service member dying in or near their barracks or home, and it is being investigated, it is almost always suicide. The cause of death does not get released until a government agency is forced to provide that information. They don't want the appearance of anything bad happening. Appearances are very important to the military. Almost so important that they may even be more important than actual readiness and actually taking care of service members and their families. And I can tell you from experience that I feel like this is true. After 20 years in the military and hearing phrases like families first and we care about our people, people are our number one priority. I hear those, and I didn't see it very often, executed very often. Most of the time, it was executed extremely poorly, to be honest with you. So why are they taking their lives? It's a great question. And I don't pretend to know why everyone did or tried or thought about it. What I can tell you is why I and others thought about it and why we think those that did were thinking very similar things. Why? Simply put, for a not so simple question, is many feel overwhelmed by the operational tempo and do not want to be seen as a failure or be a burden because they need help, because they can't do their part. They can't be a part of the team. Getting help takes them out of the fight because they may have appointments or possibly am determined to be non-deployable. Is there anything worse than not being there for your teammates? If you train with your teammates and you're ready to go on a deployment, and because of your mental health challenges, you go to get help and you cannot go, how bad does one feel? How bad does the unit make them feel? And those are some of the things that we go through when we think about these things. These people, to include myself, are often the strongest people we know. No one suspects that they can't handle anything. They are often the hard workers that get more work, right? The hard workers get more work. The military is no different than a lot of civilian agencies in that, you have a team and there's probably better performers than others. And as the leader, supervisor, manager, you need to get stuff done. You have that go-to person. Well, often they end up getting burned out because they're getting all the tough assignments and the other ones are not. They often have great evaluations, many awards. They're thought of very highly in their units. When stress due to operational tempo starts to take its toll on these individuals, how are they supposed to take a knee and get help? Remember, everyone relies on them. They're irreplaceable in many eyes. And here's something to think about. Commanders, commissioned officers, captains for the most part, they only have 12 to 18 months to make an impact. Most of the time, 12 months, they're in command of a company. Command of a company, 12 months to make an impact. And so if they have some of their best workers, best junior leaders, and those sergeants, staff sergeants, and sergeant first classes that need to come out of the fight, because they need to take a break and they need help, that could really impact that commander from accomplishing his mission, his or her mission. So a lot of times there's a lot more pressure put on those commanders to make sure everybody stays in the fight. And I want to focus on the op tempo, operational tempo, and what that means for people that don't quite understand it. And it's okay to not understand. That's why I'm here today to explain it. And these are the things that I'm saying you're not going to hear from the Department of Defense, the Department of the Army. You're not going to hear them talk about operational tempo as being a cause for stress, because they're not willing to admit the things that we do in garrison are often more challenging than downrange in a combat zone. And I know you're thinking that sounds unbelievable, but I'm telling you it's true, and I'm going to get into the details here in a minute. The obvious stress from frequent deployments is not even what I'm referring to, as I said. So when we're at home in what we call our garrison environment, we're often working equally as much compared to when we were deployed, with far less time to accomplish our duties, to take care of our soldiers and their families, administrative stuff, training, etc. So we have more to do, but less time to do it in, and there's pressure to accomplish it all. So something has to give. So let's look at a typical duty day. And I'm sharing all this with you so that you kind of get a detailed understanding of what I'm talking about, of what day-to-day operations are like for us. So 6:30 to 8, maybe 7:30, but probably 6:30 to 8 right now. We do physical training. We go out and work out and do some PT. That's good, right? It's kind of good, but we won't get into that right now. 9:30 work call. You get an hour and a half of personal hygiene and eating breakfast. The signal soldiers have to go to the chow hall. You know, soldiers that live on post or off post have to have time to go, drive to their residence, take showers, get their food, all that kind of stuff. Some stay on post and do it all there. And then, so you work from 9:30 to 11:30, 2 hours. You get an hour and a half for lunch, 11:30 to 1300. That's great, right? Then you come back and you work 13 to 1700, and then 1700, we're done. Work call is over. So there's not that many work hours available in a typical duty day in the Army. And then we're going to add a bunch of stuff in that typical day that's going to take up some of your time, your Monday through Friday time. So Mondays, this is what a typical Monday looks like in the Army. So the PT got it, 9:30 to 12:30, though, you're in the motor pool. And if you've heard my earlier story about the motor pool in season 1, we go there to inspect our trucks and work on our trucks. Every Monday, everybody in the Army is in the motor pool for at least the first half of the day, working on trucks, not doing anything for our actual jobs, admin stuff, nothing. And then after that, usually sometime in the afternoon, you can do whatever your mission related duties are. In aviation, you can be, flying, fixing, fueling. Tuesday, Wednesday are all just like that. So no motor pool, but you have a full day. Thursday, leaders time training till noon. So from, 9 to noon, we have dedicated leaders time, which, should be good, but we don't use it in the right manner. Friday, family time, which is great, right? We leave at 1500 on Friday. And then on top of that, almost every month we have a 4-day weekend, which is great, right? All that is fantastic, and it doesn't sound like we have a whole lot of time to do a lot of work, which we don't. But the 4-day weekend is really awesome. But what that also does, if you think about it, it means we only have 18 days of work in a month. 18. That's it. 18 opportunities to lead PT. 18 opportunities to do PT. Now, you can do more of it on your own. I get it, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. 18 opportunities to fix your trucks, inspect your helicopters, fly your helicopters, counsel your soldiers, develop your soldiers, train your soldiers, all kinds of things that need to happen. So we only really have 2.5 days during a typical 5-day work week. And then when you throw in a 4-day weekend, you're off on a Friday and a Monday. Now you've got 2 4-day weeks. And the overall problem is none of our requirements are ever eliminated or reduced. So what we always talk about in the Army is, well, we're going to give you 10 things. We know that you can't do them all, so it's up to you to decide which ones you're going to do and which ones you're not going to do. But then inevitably somebody higher decided that numbers 8 and 9 that you didn't do out of your 10 were the ones that they really wanted you to do, but they didn't tell you to do. So now you're in trouble. So what ends up happening, people, leaders, someone, somewhere end up working extreme amount of hours on the 4 days in order to get all 10 things done. It happens all the time. So let's talk about like aviation operations and like what that really means as far as that work and that typical duty day. So we've got to fly, fix, and fuel aircraft typically, right? But we've also got a lot of support personnel that help us with flight operations, our fuelers, right? Our maintainers, and all of the admin staff that has to support all of our soldiers. So whether they're, doing HR personnel type stuff. So we have all of those things that have to continue to go on. Plus you've got to, you may have to go to the doctor, you may have an appointment. So we've got our aviation operations, which also means you may fly at night. So some people won't even come in during the day. They'll fly at night, but then they won't come in the next morning because they flew at night. And you've got to have so many hours off during that time. So we have aviation operations. We have motor pool operations. We've got to go to the ranges twice a year. Every soldier has to shoot their primary weapon system. And a range, especially at the company level, is not an easy muscle movement. And I bring that up because it takes time to execute it and resources. And really, so it means you've got to go, again, away from your aviation footprint to go do something twice a year. And it takes time and effort, which means you're not flying, fixing, or fueling. We've got our required annual training, and this has been an ongoing joke. Years ago, the Army actually did a study to realize that all of their required annual training requires more hours in a year than we have available. Yes, you heard that right. They have more required annual training in the regulation than we actually have hours in a year to do it. So some commanders, senior level commanders, said, listen, we're not going to do X things, right? But then somebody above them said, oh, I wanted you to do those X things. And we just kind of go back to what I just talked about. So we've got to get the required annual training done. We've got to get evaluations done. We've got to get awards done. People get awards when they do great things, but they also when they're moving duty stations. So when they leave here, they've got to get an award done. And the process for that award is it's so ridiculous. The amount of times it has to get written and checked on, it goes through this rigorous process to get submitted that most awards have to be submitted 90 days to 120 days. So some are 180 days out, depending on who the signature authority is. So people have to take a lot of time to do those. And those are your leaders, your sergeants, staff sergeants, sergeant first classes, and then, your officers are doing those things too. So we've got doctor's appointments that come up, right? We're in garrison. We need to go to the doctor anytime if we have something wrong. Also, hey, we've got to go to the field. So probably once a quarter, the whole company is going to the field for a week. And then maybe once every 6 months, the entire battalion is going to the field. So that's 2 weeks right there out of the 6 months that you're going to the field. Also, we're going to go to the National Training Center in California and train in the desert for 30 days, or we're going to go to the Joint Readiness Training Center, train in the jungle in Louisiana for 30 days. Every unit in aviation, pretty much, if you're at home, you're probably going to get there once a year for 30 days. And then, guess what? People have families, and they may even have children, if you've heard of that. And then they get paternity and maternity leave, which is great. Some people even take vacations. We earn 30 days of leave a year, 30 days, which sounds amazing, and it really is. But sometimes there's just not enough time to take it, honestly, and we don't do a good enough job of allowing people to take the vacations. And also emergencies. We even have emergencies that mean people have to come out of the fight, right? Come out of the training environment and go take care of their emergencies. And then there's the overall manning issue, personnel. How are we filled? And let's talk about that. And I really want to talk about that and explain that to people. And this will probably, some of you that have not been in the military, this will probably blow you away. Most units are filled to about 75% capacity, with most of those shortages at the NCO level. So your sergeant, staff sergeant, sergeant first classes. 100% will only happen when you're pending deployment, and your fill-ins, your last 25%, will typically show up in the last 6 months of your train up before you get ready to leave. So we have a saying in the Army that the NCOs are the backbone of the Army. And I agree that they are. But if they're not there, then who is the backbone of the unit? It's a great question. Well, you got to step up, right? So whoever's there has got to step up and do the job. But what that really means is we often have junior soldiers in leadership positions or senior NCOs covering elements that are much larger than intended. So you can imagine the long-term impacts of that happening. And let's talk about the flying, maintenance, and ranges portion of that operational tempo. So no commander wants to fly less than what was flown last year. And if you've ever seen the episode on The Office where they're trying to spend the annual budget right before the end of the year, that's exactly what I'm about to describe. Every year I hear the same thing. We have to fly all these hours or we'll lose them in the next budget because it shows we didn't need them. Often the flights have no training value or will make a unit any more ready. But what they do create is more maintenance. More maintenance by the soldiers that are short-staffed, detailed out to go mow grass, go guard the gate, go work in the chow hall. And some are hardly even seeing their families, especially the ones that are doing maintenance. So these NCOs that were short are the ones that would be leading the maintenance, that are the experienced maintainers, the experienced crew chiefs. They're the ones that are going to hold it all together, which is why we call them the backbone of the Army. But if they're not there, you have a specialist, an E4, leading a phase, which is, 4 to 6 weeks of major maintenance on an aircraft. You can only fly as much as your phase maintenance team can push out. That's it. You can't do it any other way. The phases reset the clocks on the aircraft essentially, so you've got to get those done. With the NCOs not there, we often have many challenges with those maintenance activities. They're short-staffed. They're getting burned out. They're being asked to work an extreme amount of essentially overtime from almost early August to mid-September when the final tally of our hours gets totaled up. The flight op tempo and the maintenance op tempo goes absolutely berserko. But I also want to tell a story about a company commander that was in an Apache unit, and we were getting ready to deploy. And I was the first sergeant of a Black Hawk company, and this company commander essentially got fired towards the end, right before we deployed, because he actually made it known that his unit couldn't essentially take the op tempo that they were doing. 6 straight months, and his unit had 1 weekend off. 6 straight months, and his company had 1 weekend off. Because when aircraft fly, and if they're broken, the rule is if you have people and parts available, you're working. Period. You're working, you're getting the aircraft up, no matter what has to happen. So that's where, and he finally stood up for his unit and said, listen, we can't take this anymore. And guess what? He got fired. They found another yes man to put in there. So people have had enough. So what do? Especially those high flyers, especially those sergeant, staff sergeant, sergeant first classes that are awesome. They do whatever you tell them to do. They take on every job and every task. with vigor. They have the best evaluations. They get promoted ahead of everybody, ahead of their peers, which is what we like to say. Well, guess what? They don't go and get help. If they do, they end up going for one appointment and maybe two and end up skipping the others and missing some because an event comes up. Undoubtedly, an event comes up when they have an appointment scheduled that hire tells them that essentially they have got to be at this event. They need to be at this event no matter what, and they need to reschedule their appointment. So, and they'll come at them with it's for the team. We need you. You're the only one that can do this. Instead of, saying, hey, you have got to take care of yourself. We need you for the bigger fight. We need you down the road. So take a break, go to that appointment. Let's get the next person up, and we're going to be just fine. That's what we don't have. And I'm going to circle back to, remember, these company commanders only have 12 months to make an impact. One company command, two if they're very lucky, one company command, and that evaluation during that time that they're a commander will likely determine whether they, one, get promoted at all, or two, get promoted, ahead of their peers to be a major. So oftentimes that pressure comes. Now, I have a story too to tell you. For example, when I was at Fort Bragg, I got there in 2017. The unit I was in, I got there in fall of 2017. I was working in the S3 operations shop, and the unit was scheduled to go to JRTC, I think in late February or March of 2018. Well, so I got there, like I said, September of 2017, and I had just returned from Afghanistan in spring of 17. The year before that, when I was at Fort Riley, I had injured my shoulder and I required surgery, but I put the surgery off in order to go on the deployment because I knew, listen, that to me was more important, to be with my teammates, to be there for my teammates. The commander needed, good, strong first sergeant in that deployment. The unit needed me there, and I was willing to do it. And I put the mission first, and that to me was worth putting the surgery off. So I get home. We had to move pretty quickly to North Carolina. As soon as I got there, I got there, signed in on a Friday, and was told I had to meet the unit down in Georgia out in the field. I think on that next Tuesday, I had to pack my bags and go to the field for a week or so. And so anyway, came back, and then I kind of went through went and saw the doc, and just said, hey, I need to get my shoulder looked at. I'm going to need surgery, and, start working through all those appointments, right? And anyway, got the appointment set up. The surgery got scheduled for the end of January. So, it just takes time to get all the stuff squared away. Well, I had convalescent leave, so I was out of work for 30 days. And then when I came back, I certainly was not going to JRTC to practice, do some training stuff. So long story short, I ended up getting fired. I got fired because I could not go to JRTC. Now, I didn't get fired in the sense that they wrote me a relief for cause NCOER. On my evaluation report, non-commissioned officer evaluation report, that's what NCOER is. On my evaluation report, it mentions nothing of the sort. But when I came back to work, I didn't have a job. And the battalion sergeant major says, what are you doing here? You don't work here anymore. I'm like, what? I'm like, are you kidding me? Anyway, I go to see the brigade sergeant major, and he proceeds to tell me that I should have looked at the training calendar and postponed my surgery for a training event that was on the calendar for at least a year. And I was utterly shocked that he said that. And I explained to him that I've already put the surgery off for a combat deployment, and I needed to get it done, now as soon as I could. And he disagreed with me. And essentially from that point on, I definitely was blackballed for a lot of things that happened. I never really got another opportunity to even do another real job. Let's just say a real job in Fort Bragg. I was focused on retirement, whatever. But But that right there is an example of how the leaders treat people and how they act. So I was a master sergeant, an E8, and that's how I was being treated. So you can imagine how an E4, 5, 6, and 7 would be treated. Saying, no, you need to put off surgery for a training event. A training event, people, instead of just saying, hey, next person up, let's put them in the job, they'll be okay. So that's how the pressure will come for you to miss, appointments, or go get help for mental health. And one thing leads to another. And then, you're just back in the moment trying to compartmentalize it all, and you just drive on. And so it starts to build. It starts to pile on. And as they begin to feel more and more overwhelmed, we will isolate. We'll get very irritable. We'll start feeling like we can't get out of that rabbit hole. We will develop that 1,000-yard stare. We will come across as callous and almost trying to be tougher than we really are, because we don't want to appear weak or incapable. And I know people talk about, let's end the stigma. Going to get help is a sign of strength, which I believe it is a sign of strength. But leadership actions are not confirming that. They say it, but it's not confirming it. And the story I just gave you is how they don't confirm that getting help. And I know it was a physical, injury, but that's also how they treat the mental health side. So leadership will often give you that cursory, are you okay? With, again, that we need you, that type of speech, which I mentioned earlier, not you need to take care of yourself type of speech, because the mission's always first. And you go back to, those commanders only have like 12 months to make a difference. So the other thing, let's go to promotions. So promotions are competitive, very competitive in the Army. Well, they're competitive. I don't want to say they're very. Listen, for the most part, if you do what you're supposed to do and do it pretty well, you'll get promoted. You may not get promoted in the secondary zone, but you'll get promoted in the primary zone. So with that being said, you can't really take a break, though. So you can't leave a position because you feel like it could hurt your promotion chances, which means money. When you get promoted, especially when you go from 5 to 6 to 7, E5 to E67, that's a lot of money. And if you have evaluations that show you were doing something insignificant, not in your job, like not as a platoon sergeant, maintenance supervisor, something like that, then the promotion boards may be like, he was out taking a break and he wasn't really in the fight, so we're not going to, promote him right now. And there really isn't a position or place to take a temporary break. And what I mean is, okay, so there are instructor positions, and I did one for 3 years. I went to Fort Eustis, was an instructor, and that was amazing. That was a great break, and I needed that. But that was also early in my career, 2007 to 10, and then after that, that was it. It was, game on for 11 straight years until I retired. So but that was like a PCS, permanent change of station move. Like I got reassigned there. So there's no, when you're in a unit, there's no place to go like, hey, I need to take a knee. I need a break. I've got to get some help. Like I need to focus, whatever the case is. You can't just, we used to talk about going to the gym and handing out towels, and it's just not like that anymore. There's very few of those opportunities. So they're just like, well, there's nowhere to put you. You have to continue to do your job. So that's something that we've got to change. We've got to figure out how, to allow them, whether it be 30 days, 60 days, of course, talking to the doctors. What it is that they really need, right? And it not hurt their career. So whatever we can come up with, whether it be 30 or 60 days, doing something constructive for the Army and keeping them focused and motivated and feel like they have a purpose, because we don't want to just, send them over there to hand out towels and disregard them. We want them to have purpose and feel like they're part of the team, but we want to eliminate the stress. Okay, so we want to eliminate being a burden, being overwhelmed by everything. But we don't have that, and we need to have that, and we need to have it where it not hurt their evaluation, because they can still be a high flyer and a great NCO, but they just need 30, 60, maybe even 90 days, maybe more than that. So that's one of the things that we need. When others have to pick up our slack, though, because we can't, do all the things that we're used to doing, we can't bear to think about that. All right? We have now become a burden on our teammates and unit. So even if I get a chance to, take that knee or whatever, what we're really burdened with is now everybody's got to do my job, and I'm a burden to the unit. It's not even about getting help for ourselves anymore. It's about trying not to be a worthless piece of shit burden on your teammates and maybe even our family at this point. Like if I'm not able to even do the things at home that I normally would do, and now my family's having to pick up the slack while I'm at home, that is almost like the nail in the coffin for us. I just can't. That's like one of the worst things ever, that my family has to do the things that I normally do because it's just too much for me right now. And we do not want to ever be that worthless burden to anybody. And I don't like simplifying this complex problem, but this is the point right here where we start having suicidal ideations, and some follow through with it because we feel like a burden, because we can't do the work. We can't be a part of the team, and someone else is having to pick up our slack. And we may even need assistance. So the unit's now disappointed in me. My teammates are disappointed in me. My family's disappointed in me. How can anyone think I'm good at or worthy of anything? These are our thoughts. How can we not be a burden to the very people that we care most about? At this point right now, what can I do so that I am not a burden to them, and I'm not having to live with the thought that I'm not a part of the team, I don't have a purpose, and I can't do this anymore, and they're having to do my job. We take our life. That's the only way to get out of it. That's the only way we think to get out of it, is to take our life. And I know that probably sounds totally ridiculous to most, but that is my experience and many others that I have spoken to, that I've had the privilege to talk to, that have felt okay to open up and talk to me about this. These are the things that they're saying. If we aren't here, we won't be a burden anymore. And we won't feel bad about everyone else having to do my job anymore. And I won't be a failure in anyone's eyes anymore. And somebody else can come in and do the job that I couldn't do. This was me. This was and is them. This is how we think. And you won't hear any of this from the Department of Defense. You're going to hear things like social isolation from the pandemic, especially in 2020. Let me tell you something. We went back to work like normal in the May of 2020. May of 2020. People before the Delta variant, before any other variant, nobody was even wearing masks anywhere. Nobody cared. I mean, this was Fort Bragg, North Carolina, center of the Army universe or whatever they call it, right? Discipline, paratroopers, blah, blah. That's garbage. We were back to work, full bore in May of 2020. So for the DOD to use a line like, well, we're concerned about social isolation from the pandemic. There's no social isolation except for social isolation because they were doing it on purpose, because of their other issues, not because of the pandemic. But this, again, is what you're going to hear because they don't want to face the other issues. The DOD will talk about finances. They'll talk about, well, they had poor finances, they were stressed out about them, so they took their life. And then they'll talk about behavioral health failures. They're going to talk about how we didn't have enough counselors and we need more money for more social workers and counselors, which, okay, I will agree with to a point. I do. We don't have enough. It is challenging to get appointments sometimes. But the more challenging part about it, though, is it's not about the appointment. You can get emergency appointments pretty quick, but consistent therapy with the same therapist that you both see eye to eye on with your therapy is incredibly important and extremely lacking in DoD. Too many of our therapists are either active duty soldiers themselves that end up PCSing and moving, or they themselves are civilians that get burnt out and they're like, I can't do this anymore, and leave. Or we end up having to move duty stations right in the middle of a 6-month therapy session, and now we start all over when we get to the other side. So if we can spend some money in those particular areas to create consistency with therapists and appointments, then I'm all about it. But until then, I'm not going to stand up here and say we should dump $5 billion more into this system. So finances, behavior health failures, missed appointments. They'll talk about, the soldier had opportunities, they missed appointments, but I already told you why they missed appointments. So that stress can be most effectively addressed by teammates, leaders, and those that we care the most about. You're not going to hear that from the DoD, but you're going to hear it from me. Someone that has had suicidal ideations, someone that has had the privilege of talking to others that have been willing to stay with us on this earth because they're amazing and incredible human beings that just needed a break and needed to know that they were not a burden and they're valued and they're loved and they can get through this. So this is more of a leadership and caring issue than anything. And this is where this is probably going to shock some of y'all, because you're thinking, why is he talking about leadership? We're talking about behavioral health. How does the individual get help? So how do we prevent it? How do we fix this? How do we prevent these service members from killing themselves? That's what we're talking about. How do we fix it? So let's talk about leadership. You didn't know this was an episode on leadership, but this part is. And listen, not everything can be prevented by leaders or leadership. I get it. And I'm not placing blame on leaders per se. So listen carefully. The first part of our leadership failure is not being able to say no to hire when it comes to our operational tempo. And I alluded to that earlier. When we are, basically tasked with flying X number of hours, executing X number of missions because it costs so much money and we need to have that money in our budget the next year, that kind of garbage. So, that's when leaders can't say no, like we can't do that. When a commander says no, they get fired. Okay? When a commander says, no, we can't do that, they get fired and they find a yes man or yes woman. This is the part of what Lieutenant Colonel Scheller of the Marine Corps and Lieutenant Colonel Haig in the Army are trying to explain to people if you haven't heard their part of the story of them resigning their commissions and leaving before retirement because our senior leaders need to be more accountable for what is happening. And a lot of it is because, one, they're either not listening to no or they don't allow no to be part of the discussion. No is not allowed for the most part in the military, for the most part. No means we will get someone that says yes. Yes means we can fly that many hours. We can do that many phases. We can go to JRTC that many times with 75% personnel. And yes means the Afghans can defend themselves. You see where I'm going with this? You see how much of an epidemic not being able to say no, being truthful and honest to your senior leaders, and then how it trickles down to the force and creates more work, more stress, because nobody wants to say no. And then when it goes bad, when it goes horribly wrong and bad, senior leaders want to stand up there and say, well, nobody told me that it was going to be like this. Bullshit. Or you fired the people that were trying to tell you that. So the second failure is for people to not really care for others, especially those that are in charge of or teammates of others. And part of it's not their fault. Let me explain. Our leadership schools in the Army do not really teach us how to care as leaders by any form of the definition. We focus on caring about beans, bullets, and training, especially on the NCO side, but not personally, not individually, not emotionally. Nobody trains us and teaches us how to do those things. NCOs are just expected to learn on the job and do the best that they can. Yet, we are the first ones to interact with the service members each and every day. We are expected to know how to care. We're expected to be social workers. We're expected to be therapists. We're expected to be friends. We're expected to be teammates. But don't get caught fraternizing, though. Don't be too friendly. And listen, typically your sergeant is in charge of 4 to 6 human beings in the Army. Your staff sergeant's in charge of 2 sergeants and their soldiers. Sergeant First Class is in charge of 4 staff sergeants. You get the picture. So those NCOs are incredibly important to those soldiers and their families. Yet we fail them every day when we don't teach them how to be leaders, how to care. And there's so much more to leadership than getting the mission or job done, or just asking if someone is okay. A whole lot more than that. That's a start. But let me tell you, and this comes from a person I recently talked to. If you're not ready for some real, deep, complicated, emotional shit, don't ask if they're okay. If you're not ready for that, don't ask them if they're okay, because you're going to make it worse. Because if they start opening up and you back up like, ooh, that's not really what I meant, that's going to make it worse. Showing your teammates that you generally care about them, their well-being, their family will do more good than any therapist could ever do. Remember, we do everything for our teammates and unit. We don't want to be a failure or a burden. These people are the ones that I will die for and that will die for me. So these are the ones that I care about. And I don't want to be a burden to. So these are the ones that are going to do more for me than a therapist will do. But I need people to really care about me and not just give me the cursory, hey man, you okay? And that's part of what we have to teach our NCOs and even teammates, how to do this effectively. So people's inner 3 to 5 circle, and those numbers can be anything you want, plus immediate and up 1 leaders. And I want to talk about like those sergeants and staff sergeants again. Those are the ones that matter. That inner 3 to 5, they can be teammates, they can be family friends, they can, or family members, they can be friends. So how does one know who's someone's 3 to 5 is? Well, you got to get to know your damn people. And we talk about that, right? We talk about those things. We talk about leadership. We talk about this is the things that you do, but we don't show them how, and we don't make them do it. We don't get them to do it because they want to do it. That's where we fail. We can give them a list of things to do and they're going to go do it. But some of these things, we want them to do it because they want to do it, not because we put it on a list and they're going to get a gold star because they accomplished all 10 things, right? So get to know your damn people. Get to know them because you give a shit who they are, and not because it's going to be checked on their promotion board. When you show up their promotion board, hey, Sergeant, you got a leader's book? Oh, yeah, Roger, First Sergeant, I got my leader's book right here. It's got all my soldiers' information in here, you know. But do you really know them? I don't care what it says on that piece of paper right there. You need to find out so you know who to turn to. If someone needs help or isn't doing well, it's not that you, the sergeant, has to be the one to figure it all out. But you need to know them well enough to know that, hey, if this person needs something, these are the people that will help this person and be there for this person. Even if it's family members, even if it's family members that live out of state, make that call, send the email, make that connection, make that personal human connection. You've got to find out so you know who to turn to if someone needs help. Find out what makes them tick and do it because you generally care about them again as a human being, not because your staff sergeant, sergeant first class, or first sergeant said you need to. And that's the other thing we're not doing in our schools. We don't, in all of our leadership schools, we don't teach them about leadership. None of it. When someone needs to be taken out of the fight for legitimate reasons, such as behavior health, leaders need to acknowledge to everybody that it's okay and that we may be down a teammate, but we are going to do 3 things. We're going to support the hell out of that teammate and their family. We're also going to distribute the workload evenly so as to not be a burden on anyone, and we're all going to accept that we have to do a little bit more to make the mission happen, and we are going to share in the mission accomplishment. No one's going to be in trouble for it. No one's going to be upset about it. We're going to say it in a manner and do it in a manner so that the person does not feel, again, that like he or she is being a burden because now we have to take on their load. It's okay. Let's talk about it. Let's be open about it and just say, hey, brother, hey, sister, we got this. It's okay. You need to take a knee. We're going to support you, meaning we're going to check in on you with a text message. We're going to call you. We're going to swing by your house. And again, we're going to do it because we care, not because somebody told us to. And also, yes, we're going to take on the mission still, and we're going to get it done. And then when you're ready, we're going to bring you back into the fight like you never missed a beat. That's what's got to happen, and that's what we don't do right now. We can accomplish most missions and take care of our people. Right now, the philosophy is to accomplish all missions and take care of some people. I'll agree that there are times when tough decisions need to be made in a combat situation when it comes to taking care of a person and or accomplishing a mission. I get it. But that is not what we're discussing here, and this is not one of those situations. Leaders, teammates, and that inner 3 to 5 are the ones that will prevent suicides. We must ask more than are you okay? We must pry and know that they are not, because we know them. We know how they act. We know what makes them tick. We know when they're sad. We know when they're not handling what they normally handle. We must let them know, too, that they're not a burden if we have to take some of their load, that they are extremely valued and loved, even if they need to seek help and take a break. They are not viewed or thought of as quitters on the team. We cannot allow them to feel that they are quitting on the team, that they're a failure. We have got to make sure we let them know that, what you're doing to get help is amazing because we need you back at 100%. We are an amazing team with you when you're here, so it's going to be okay. So you need to go get that help, and it's all going to be good. And we will be there for you and everyone else. We need to make them feel that way. I believe that this is how we prevent many suicides and other issues in the Army, in the military. Caring, knowing your service members, creating a trusting, disciplined team. The military has to teach people how to do those things, though. That is where we're failing every day. They'll say things like, we're a leadership factory, blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. The Army specifically does not teach soldiers how to be NCOs today. We've changed the names of the leadership schools in my 20 years of service like 4 different times, but not really much changed within the philosophy and the teaching of it. They just changed the name to make it sound good. But they still didn't teach human beings, soldiers, how to care, how to, emotionally care while also still being a leader and in charge. So let's talk about non-commissioned officer education system while we're talking about these leadership schools compared to the officer education system, the commissioned officers. So the commissioned officers go to school for 6 months to a year to learn how to do a job for 12 months that they will only do one time and they'll never do that job again. Think about that. They go to school for 6 to 12 months to learn how to do this job for 12 months that they'll also never do it again. But it's so important that 12 to 18 months when that company commander, that's what will impact their ability to get promoted. So it must be pretty important, right? NCOs, non-commissioned officers, they go to school for 4 weeks, and in some cases longer, but they do those jobs for years. I mean, you could be a sergeant, E5 for years, staff sergeant for years, sergeant first class, first sergeant. Some first sergeants, they're a first sergeant for like 5 years before they become a sergeant major or before they retire. They're expected to learn on the job, which I understand that concept, but we don't give them enough of a base in their school. The most important ranks, and you've heard me say them so many times in the show today, ranks and positions: sergeant, staff sergeant, sergeant first class, your E5, E6, and E7, because those are the ones that are going to have the most impact on soldiers and their families every single day. They're the ones that are training, leading, and developing every single day. And in these schools, we're not teaching the NCOs how to care without being intrusive, untrusting assholes. Non-commissioned officer education system and de facto the Army does not, again, teach us how to care. I mean, what does that even look like? So what does being an intrusive leader look like, but building trust? What does that look like? So let's look at a financial checkup or a POV inspection, personally owned vehicle, personally operated vehicle, whatever you want to call it. We do these inspections every month on people's cars, okay? Which really is a great thing, okay? It's a great thing. We go out there and we make sure all their lights work, their brake lights work, they've got all their fluids are good, their tires are good, and if there's any issues, we can identify them and they come up with a plan to get them fixed. Okay, so it's a great thing, but what we do in the Army is we turn it into a bad thing, because let's go back to the 18 days a month, and let's go back to we only have so much time in a month to do these things, and then certain units will say we've got to do this before every 4 days, so you've got to do it every month, and you'll try to do it all at one time, so everybody's got to do it on Friday, and everybody's lining up in the car, so you took the whole unit out of the fight and you're all doing these inspections, and then you've got to put it on all these paperwork and all this document and go turn it in, and then the platoon sergeant's got to take all those papers and go turn it into the first sergeant, and then the first sergeant's got to compile it all. So it's turning into a real full-blown operation here. Like, listen, sergeants, E5s, sergeants, staff sergeants, sergeant first classes, I trust you to lead your element in a combat operation and to accomplish some of the most difficult, challenging missions in the world. But by God, you cannot go and inspect someone's car without filling out all this damn paperwork and turning it into the first sergeant. And if it doesn't get done, none of us are going home today. That's how we do it in the Army. Instead of, listen, as a first sergeant, it just you put out what the standards and what needs to get done. Listen, inspect your people's cars because you care about them, right? It's not because the Army said to. How the hell else are you supposed to know that your brake light's out unless somebody looks at it or somebody happens to be driving behind you, right? So it is a good thing, but we have to teach these leaders how to make it. They're doing it because they want to do it and they care about you and your car and that you have insurance. Like, they care about you. I'm not doing it because the Army said to do it. I'm not making this shit up, Like, I care about checking this stuff for you. So we have to teach the leaders how to come across that way and make it to where, one, it takes less time for them and it's easier. They can do it anytime during the month. I don't know. I could make up 10 different ways to do this to make it better for the Army, but that's not what I'm doing here. My point is just to point out the things that we're not teaching the leaders on how to care. And so when we talk about finances, listen, we know finances are stressful. Army, not Army, civilian side, everyone, dude, hey, finances are always stressful, right? So it's the same thing. Like, we have to teach them how to be able to check on their teammates' finances without, one, being overly intrusive and negative and being an asshole. Like, I do it because because I care, because I understand how important financial security really is. I mean, if you're comfortable in your finances, you can focus so much on other things. So it's not that I want anything bad to happen. And here's another thing. Did you know that you can get kicked out of the military for indebtedness? And okay, on the one side, I understand why it's there. And it's there because if you're in too much debt and you have, access to certain information, then you become a target for our foreign adversaries, right? Because then they could give you money for information. And we just talked about how nice it would be to not have financial stress, right? So I get it. I understand the point. But what I'm talking, that's very few and far between people. What I'm talking about is I heard threats while I was in. People being threatened to get kicked out of the Army because of indebtedness if they didn't get their shit together. That's how leaders would come across to people. That's how leaders would do a financial checkup. Well, you better get your shit together or I'm going to initiate a chapter and have the commander kick you out. Well, what do you think the soldier's going to do? They're like, well, shit, man, I ain't bringing anything to him. I'm not, they're going to kick me out, man. So they're going to run off post and they're going to go get that 36% interest loan to try to consolidate it, to try to fix it, to try to get out of their system. Like, we've got to check on them and provide them resources and get them help because we care. Let's not demean them. Let's not create an atmosphere, of mistrust. We've got to create this atmosphere of trust where they're willing to bring anything to you. And yes, I know I'm asking a lot. I'm demanding a lot. But that's how we take care of people. And that's how the leaders can take care of their service members. And that's how they can create those trusting, disciplined teams and know their soldiers well enough so that they can get them the help they need. And then the soldier will be more willing to come and ask for that help. But we don't teach any of this in our leadership schools. We just say, go do it. Definition of leadership. Create influence. Go create influence. Well, we create negative influence is what we create all the time. And I want to bring up one other thing too, a specific program in the Army. AER, our Army Emergency Relief, okay? So Army Emergency Relief, it's this program they do. It's soldiers give money to this program. We all, would give money, not all. I stopped after a few years because, anyway, we would give money and then AR would manage it, Army Emergency Relief, and then soldiers that needed, help, financial help could go to them and get, a loan or a grant. It's like 75 or 80% of the money that's given to soldiers is a loan. Yes, it's 0%, okay? But it's a loan and not a grant. Some of those situations that the soldiers are in, they need a grant. And if I'm giving my money, if I give $25 a year, I want that money to go to be a grant. Give them a real fighting chance to get out of the situation that they're in, okay? And then let's fix the situation how they got there, all right? And I went through a briefing on AER one year, and they recover like 98% of their loans. So, and then plus they grow their endowment every year, which is what never made sense to me. Why are you asking me for more money every year when you're not even giving out grants? You're giving out loans and you're recovering 98% of it. So you're getting your money back. So are you really helping the soldiers out? So, but it is an option, and it is something that, can be utilized. So get them the right help because you care. It's what's right for them and their family, and they'll actually perform a hell of a lot better too. We all know how stressful finances can be. Junior soldiers bring all kinds of tactical and technical challenges to their leaders to help solve. You've seen it in the movies, right? The junior soldier, even the sergeant, runs over to the platoon leader or the platoon sergeant. Hey, Sarge, this is what we've got, this and that. And then the sergeant will be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then there's no questions asked. They go and execute, and then everything's great, right? But we've got to create the same atmosphere and the same trusting team so that they bring those same issues of, hey, Sarge, I am in financial trouble and I need help. Okay, hey, you know what? This is what we're going to do. Not, well, shit, if you don't get that crap fixed, man, we're going to kick you out of the Army. Oh, okay, well, I'm going to go over here and try to figure it out. Hey, Sarge, I need some behavioral health help. Oh, okay, you know what? I know these two guys are your best friends. I'm going to go connect with them, get them connected with you, and then we're going to get you some help and resources, and then we're going to follow up, at an appropriate time. And we're going to make sure you're going to be okay. And guess what? The team is too. You're not going to be a burden. We love you. We're going to take care of you. Let's go. That we've got to teach these people that that's how they've got to be, and it's okay to be like that. That's not being weak. That's not being, I'm not a tough guy. I'm not a tough NCO. I'm gonna show with my knife hand and make you do push-ups and stuff. No, man. That's, you got to care about them. Show them you care. Like, not just say, hey, care about them. So that's what has to change. If none of this changes, if the leaders do not really care, suicides will continue to rise until they just don't. At no help from the DOD. That's why this has to change. We don't want to be failures or a burden. We want to be great teammates, family members, and serve with honor. We can fix this with caring leaders and teammates, but we have to teach people how to care. The truth about our op-tempo, soldiers performing their duties, and our real capabilities from leaders to hire has to change. If none of that changes, I feel more and more of the burden falls on the teammates to look out for each other. I feel very strongly that someone's inner 3 to 5 people are the ones that are going to save a person's life. Let's teach them how to care, how to lead, create a team with trust and discipline. With these things, I know we can make a difference. Thanks for tuning in to this incredibly difficult subject. I recovered from suicidal ideations because the people that matter the most to me made me feel valued, loved, and not a burden. You can be and do the same for your teammates and family members. I'm Jason Miller, Master Sergeant Retired, your host of Miller's Military Moments. Peace.